Hi, friends. I'm Scott Giles, and welcome to Power Talk, my podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I cover topics related to spirituality, hypno-coaching, and the hypnotic arts and sciences generally. If you'd like to know more about my professional work, check out my website, which I'll tag at the end of this video. Today, I want to talk about staying positive in a world that seems negative. Now, I love positive thinking. I have ever since I read The Power of Positive Thinking by the Reverend Dr. Norman Vincent Peale when I was a boy. I would devour the literature of positive thinking as I grew up, not just Peale's other books, but the works of Napoleon Hill like Think and Grow Rich, and Clement Stone, who was one of the richest men in America during his lifetime, and his key book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, is still one I admire today. I was a founding member of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and one of my prized possessions is a leather-bound edition of The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, which I received as a personal gift from Clement Stone. These books, and the worldview they contain, has informed my thinking for all of these years. But there is a problem. All of these books assume a land of equal opportunity, a level playing field where hard work and character will allow one to shine. Now, this notion comes right out of the 19th century thinking of a writer by the name of Horatio Alger, who lived from 1832 to 1899. He wrote a series of popular novels, more than 100 of them, about impoverished boys who were able to rise by doing good works, showing honesty, and having good moral character. The problem is that the playing field in life is seldom level. People who come from money and or well-connected families of influence get a huge head start. Justice isn't dispensed in an even-handed way, and the game is rigged more often than not. I actually knew a very successful man who fit the classic white Protestant model of an ascendant American, and he actually said, the secret of America's success is keeping people like that down, pointing to the African American young man who was hard at work mowing this guy's huge lawn. It's hard to believe that character, intelligence, and hard work allows people to rise when the game is obviously rigged in favor of only certain kinds of people from certain kinds of backgrounds and certain kinds of families. Now, I know this firsthand. I come from a messed up, low-class, blue-collar family. I'm a person who is very much from the wrong side of the tracks, as they used to say in small-town America, where communities tended to be divided into two camps by the local railroad tracks. One camp contained the rich families with the popular kids who went to the right schools, and the other camp tended to belong to the trailer trash, the wrong sort of people. I know I've been scorned by classmates, colleagues, even some in-laws, because of my lower class origins. They didn't think I was listening when they made fun of me, but I was. However, I didn't fall for their attempts to put me down. And the reason I didn't is the key to staying positive in a negative world that I want to share with you today. Obviously, one can break free from all of the put-downs and unfairness projected on you by privileged others. I did. I was able to find a way to cut myself free, to get a good education, distinguish myself, and give myself a good life. Now, I'm probably more the exception than the rule, but the fact that I exist shows it's possible. And having said that, it was the advice of Napoleon Hill, Norman Vincent Peale, and Clement Stone that I heard in my head that kept me going. And I owe a huge personal debt to that literature. So while I don't agree with Horatio Alger that good works and good character are all one needs to rise, they do help, as does stubbornness, the fuel of anger, and knowing when to fight and when not to. And you get there, you get to that point, by deciding to focus on your wins, not on your losses, just like Peale, Hill, and Stone maintained. There was a 19th century philosopher, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, who died in 1716, who argued that the world was the best world that could be created. Not that it was perfect, but that when you balanced all the things that needed to be balanced, free will, randomness and evolution, dumb luck, the laws of nature, this world, even with all of its problems, was still the best of all possible worlds. Leibniz influenced the French writer Voltaire, the pen name of Francois Marie Alouet, who was a playwright, poet, and scientist during the French Enlightenment in the 18th century. Voltaire's best-known book was Candide. Candide, the protagonist, was a young man who was sheltered and tutored by Professor Pangloss, a student of Leibniz. Candide goes on to experience a whole list of misfortunes and becomes disillusioned by the belief that the world is really the best of all possible worlds. He concludes at the end that while optimism is good policy, we must all take responsibility for doing the best we can with the opportunities that we have, what he called cultivating your own garden. To learn more about this, I go, as I often do, to Stoic philosophy, specifically to the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, once Emperor of Rome. In Meditation 36 he writes, "What things soever are not within the proper power and jurisdiction of thine own will, either to compass or avoid, thou shalt propose unto thyself any of those things as either good or evil. It must need be that according as thou shalt either fall into that which thou dost think evil, or miss that which thou dost think good." Now, what that means, despite the antique language, is that stuff happens. And we choose to assign a label to it as good or bad, depending upon what we want. The thing to get is that value judgments come out of us. The situation itself just is. And we're going to be way happier in life if we don't go around making a whole bunch of value judgments. What Marcus Aurelius is saying is that nothing is really good or bad in and of itself. If you are a mountain lion, you think a plentiful supply of rabbits is a good thing because then meals are easy to find. If you, however, are one of the extra rabbits, you probably have a different opinion. Given that there will always be things in the world that we cannot control, and which are good or bad, just or unjust, depending merely on our perspective, the key to staying positive in an uncertain world is not to make a lot of value judgments. If you do make a lot of value judgments, you come to possess a long list of things that you think are good, and a much longer list of things you think are bad, and you'll be anxious much of the time. That will cripple you, and you will feel every bump in the uneven playing field. A better attitude, I think, is just to conclude that, well, you win some and you lose some, and just accept that. Settle instead for a decision to focus on what you have won, however humble. As Candide said, tend your own garden. It may not be a great garden, but it's yours. Celebrate your wins, not your losses. Don't ignore the bad stuff. Indeed, try to learn from it. but don't over-focus on it either. Let that stuff go. The playing field isn't level, but you'll overcome more of it if you keep your spirits up. That's what I learned from the positive thinking literature. There are no guarantees that hard work and good character are going to cause you to rise, and sometimes really bad people win out. But you will get better odds if you focus on what you have instead of on what you do not have, on what has worked rather than what has not. Tend your own garden. Focus on your wins. Don't over-focus on the losses. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It does help me if you let others know about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe. If I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through email, my website, or my Patreon channel. Stay well and stay safe.